A, we've got 4 pieces on the fold. The top piece, we cut 2 of those. Piece A, the middle, that's 2 of those. And then this is for the bottom, the romper. I'm sorry, the shorts. That's what we're gonna get started with first, the shorts. Okay, so we got our pattern piece. Okay, now we are going to pin and sew at these curves. So that's what we're doing now. Using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay. Right there and right there. Okay. So now that we've done that, these are our shorts. Here's where our legs come out of, and then this is the waist itself. Okay, so I'm going to take it to the iron. I'm going to press out all these seams really nicely so that it lays nice and flat. Okay, so I've pressed it. It's not laying nicely down. Okay, so now we're going to set this aside, and we're going to get our top and middle panels. And that's with the same fabric. Okay. Okay. So top and middle, and we're going to put pretty sides touching, and then we are sewing on either side. So pretty sides are already touching. Again, 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Came unthreaded, hold on. There you go. So this one is, I like to keep it together so I know because it looks almost identical. So this one here is the top, this is the middle. So for me, I'm going to mark this with a T, so I know that this is the top. And then this one's the middle, so I'm just going to put an M for middle. And this is just tailor's chalk. Okay. Okay, so for the medium part, we're going to grab the medium part first. And we're going to grab this. I'm going to put pretty sides touching. So I'm going to turn this right side out. And for me, I like to make a little notch on the back, just a couple of notches on the back so that I know that's my back piece right here. I'll put a tag there, but just so that I know what it is. Okay. So for this, it doesn't give me any notches, but I like to make my notches. So I like to make it squared off. So quadrants. So all I do is fold it in half and then snip it. This is something you get from bag making, because a lot of times with bag patterns, it's not necessarily put in the pattern like this is the center point, because different seam allowances sometimes have different results. Okay, so now we're going to take this and we're going to put the waistband. Okay, so the smaller part, right? So the smaller part is this part here that's facing me. It's going to go over this edge here. Okay, so I'm going to take this and put it together, pretty sides touching. So this one's got to go like this. Hold on. So if you lay it down, you'll see kind of like a curve. This is the top and this is the bottom. So I'm going to put this inside. Right here at this center. I'm going to go ahead and clip that. We'll pin that there. Pin at the back. Okay, now we're going to pin at our sides. You can have a little bit of gapping, and it's going to be more towards the back of the pants, just because there's a little extra in the back when you're wearing a diaper. If your child is not in a diaper, you may not have to do that, but she is still in a diaper, so don't do that. So we're gonna have a little bit of gapping in the back. See that? Just a little bit in the back and a little bit in the front. That's okay. So now what we're going to do, oh, rewind that back. That's not what we're doing. We're doing the ruffle. I was like, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. Okay, so we gotta do the ruffle first. So grab one of your ruffle pieces and I'm gonna show you how we're gonna ruffle it first because it doesn't tell us that in the instructions. It just says ruffle it. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to ruffle the skirt pieces. So you're gonna take 2 of your center pieces, okay? And we're going to open it up. And it should be a very long piece. And you're going to get one end and put one end together. And we're going to stitch this down and then repeat with the other side. And then repeat it with the other end. This is organza, so it tends to move a lot. And it's like wavy and stuff. We're going to trim it, so it's not a big deal. Make sure everything is still the right sides touching. There's really no right side to organza, but you just want to keep and make sure you're not twisting it down the way. So what I'm doing is just making sure everything is nice and flat all the way and then stitching it. Okay, so now it's joined at both ends and now it's a really big tube. So with this really, really big tube, what I'm doing now is we're going to do a rolled hem right at this end. So we're finishing off this raw edge. Let me get my rolled hem foot and then we'll do that. Okay, so when you're starting this, I don't suggest starting it at a seam. You want to come off the seam a little bit and you're gonna this is the rolled foot. Let me see if I can get you guys a little closer. There we go. So this is the rolled foot right here. And it has like a little curly cue in it. And that's what we're wanting to do. We're trying to take the fabric and curly cue it into it. And you just want to keep it curled as you're feeding it through. So all you're doing is just kind of starting the folding method into that curve. And then just keep it moving. Okay, so it's nice and rolled hem. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the same process with the other piece, so then that way I already have it all rolled up, and then we can get on to the next piece. Okay, so go ahead and do the rolled hem on both of your ruffle pieces. So it should be 2 sewn together at each end, and then it's a big circle. So I'm going to repeat that same process with the other ruffle piece. Okay, so now we have got our rolled hem all the way done on both pieces. So now what we're going to do is we're going to switch back our foot over to a regular foot, so we don't need our rolled hem foot anymore. I'm going to take that off. Together, you're going to want to have the largest stitch length you can, okay? And what we're going to do is we are going to run from each end. So starting at that join, do a nice long stitch close to the edge, all the way around to the other seam. I don't like to cross over my seams. It always seems to like pop my stitches. Now, here's a secret. When you're doing gathering, have a different color bobbin thread because then that's the one you're going to want to pull on. It makes it easier. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. But that's like a little piece of tidbit information in there. I always have a different color bobbin for that reason. Makes it so much easier to know which one my bobbin. Okay, so I'm coming back over here and I'm going to go ahead and trim off these tails so that I don't get confused when I'm doing my pulling. Okay, so I'm coming back over here to this join. I'm going to go to the join. Do not back stitching. You're going to lift up your foot and snip, and you want a nice long tail. Okay, then you hop over, make sure you have a nice long tail again, and go past that seam and then start again on the other side. Depending on your material, you may have to do 2 lines. Sometimes you can get away with just doing 1 line, which is what I'm going to try to do. This is organza. It's very thin, so it shouldn't have a problem ruffling. It's pretty much already ruffling at this point, if you can kind of see it. It's gathering a little bit already. Not enough, but it is gathering. Okay. Okay, and you're going to pull until you feel it's enough. I over gather when I first get started because I feel like I can always, it's easier for me to like let some gathers loose than it is for me to gather more when I'm already pinning it on the project. So I pin about, I pull about halfway from one side and then I pull from the other direction. So just so you know, nice and easy, and push the ruffles down as you're going. Okay, when it gets tight, you can't pull it so tight together before you're going to pop a thread. So try not to pop any threads because then you have to start over. All right, so I'm going to come back to this side, and now I'm going to pull from this end. So the other side of this, just pulling from it. There we go. Sorry, got it caught up in there. Okay. So now this half is already gathered up really a lot. So pretty much I've taken it from like 20 something inches down to like 8. That's what you want to do with both pieces. Okay, and do the same thing with this other half. Okay, now it's this tiny little thing. So it went from being very, very long to that tiny little thing. So now we're going to get our shorts. Okay. And put this over the shorts. Make sure you're not twisting it along the way. If you're doing this for the first time, I highly, 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 highly suggest that you not use organza. Just saying. It's just too much. It's not a bad thing, it's just that I know myself and I've been doing this for a while, so you just want to evenly distribute your ruffles. There we go. So let's get you guys out just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, see that? Oh yeah. Cute little. So now I'm going to pull my ruffles, and then so that I don't undo my gathers all the way, I'm taking the silver thread and I'm wrapping it around my pin. There we go. I'll do the same thing here. So I'm doing here, so I'm taking this, wrapping it around the bottom and then up. I'm like doing a figure 8. Sorry guys. Like that. Just a couple times, just to wrap around there so it secures. And that way you can move the gathers around without undoing the gathers altogether. There we go. Alright, so you can start anywhere and go all the way around. I like to start, I sew with the ruffle part up so that way I make sure not to, that I make sure that I don't miss getting it. Because that happens quite frequently. There we go. They get kind of long in the way, just snip them off. As long as it's still wrapped around, you're fine. I'm just pulling my gathers evenly, just pushing them where they need to be. Does not be perfect. That's a ruffle. Nobody's gonna really notice if you got more ruffle on one side than the other, unless one side is like very sparse and has like nothing. Then you might have a problem. I ran out of bobbin and I heard it as it was happening. So I luckily know where I stopped right there. I ran out of I literally just ran out of bobbin. So I'm gonna rewind my bobbin, and it doesn't have to be a different color now because we've already done our gatherer stitch. So I'm gonna do a purple bobbin, and then we're gonna continue. So when that happens and you run out of bobbin, just start a few stitches where it had run out, like right before it ran out. So you're like reinforcing those stitches. So there's the first one, all the way around stitched, and that's what it looks like. Oh, that's gonna be so cute. Okay. Okay. So now is when we're gonna add the center piece. Yes, center panel. With the whitest part down, pin the bottom edge of the middle panel to the lower skirt part and stitch on with the 5/8 inch seam allowance. Where is it? Oh, I just had it. Give me a second. Okay, so you're gonna get your middle piece, one with the M on it, and then we're gonna, this bottom part here is what's gonna go around the top part of this. Take it, and I'm gonna like that. Center mark to my center marks. Front to front. Oh, that's much better. It pretty much fits almost exactly. That's much better. Just make sure that when you're doing it, you're really just tucking in the gathered ruffles so that it's down in between the seams. And if you want to clip or pin in between your quadrants, you can, just to kind of keep everything lined up. So we did the first seam at 3/8, and now we're doing this next one at 5/8. And I think that's just to make sure that we can incorporate all of the ruffle gathering inside the seam. And then you don't see any of those stitches on the outside. Okay, so now we're going to, oh, there we go, that's a good angle. Now you can finish off this edge. So if you're using anything that frays a lot, you're going to want to finish this off with a serger or a zigzag stitch around it, some type of closure, like a binding, something you're going to want to do to make sure it doesn't fray anymore. Okay. Okay, this is not part of the pattern, but I like to do this. So what I like to do is do a top stitch really close to the edge, just to make sure that the seam allowance is up and the ruffle is down, just to make sure everything just stays where it needs to stay in between washes. So I just like to do that. It's an extra step, but it's what makes a difference with a lot of things. So if you see any extra little threads, you can just snip them off. I'm just making sure I'm not getting anything other than what I need to. It's very easily caught. Other things can get caught in there. Other things that don't need to be in there. So I just like to really just double check. Snip my threads. And that's what we have so far. All right, so now we're going to repeat the same process of doing the ruffle right along here. So this edge here.